Welcome to today's Subnautica tip video. By request, today I'm going to walk you through the testing I did and the results I found in regards to fish breeding rates inside the alien containments. First off, there may be some spoilers in this, so feel free to check out some of my other Subnautica content instead if you wish to avoid those. I was asked to test the breeding rates of fish in order to help determine the best bioreactor fuel. If you haven't watched my previous video about the bioreactor fuel stats, I encourage you to do so now. For this test, we need to remember there are two types of breedable fish in the game. There are fish that will spawn new fish directly, and there are fish that use collectible eggs. The smaller fish that do not use eggs will not begin producing new fish right away once placed inside the alien containment. While you could say this is an acclimation period for them to become accustomed to the new environment, I think it is more suitable to call it a maturity period and accept that the fish we find swimming around are technically juveniles. Once placed inside the containment, these fish will first go through this maturity period before they begin spawning baby fish. When a new fish is spawned, it will also then have to go through a maturity period to become an adult before it can also produce new baby fish. I decided to test with a sample of fish from each type, but needed a way to track the passage of time. On PC, hitting F1 will bring up a console with various bits of information, including current day and time. So I set everything up just prior to day 5 in this creative game save so I could easily reload after each test. I also used the day-night speed command to increase the time speed by 10-fold to make this go quicker. So my first test was with peepers. After being placed in the containment, it took 0.88 days for them to mature and spawn a new baby peeper. Once the first baby was spawned, additional babies were spawned like clockwork every 0.5 days. After spawning, it appears to take a full day for a baby to mature and be able to reproduce. So one day after the second baby peeper was spawned, I saw the fourth and fifth babies spawn at the same time due to the first two babies now being mature enough to produce their own babies as well. My second test was with Reginalds. While the peepers took nearly a full day after being placed in containment to start reproducing, the Reginalds did it in just half a day. I attribute this to a basis of adult size, as the Reginalds are slightly smaller than the peepers. Like the peepers though, once the first baby spawned, additional babies spawned at a steady pace of every 0.5 days. And of course, after the first two babies grew to maturity, they spawned the fourth and fifth Reginalds at the same time. This same process applies to fish that spawn eggs, however we must also add in the additional factor of time for the eggs to hatch. For this group of fish, I decided to first test with the crash fish as they are much smaller in size. After placing the starter eggs in the containment, it took right at 1 day for these to hatch. Following that, it was another 1.5 days before they spawned a new egg. Like the previous fish, once the first egg was spawned, each additional egg spawned at an even pace of 0.5 days. After the first egg was spawned, it also took an additional 1 day for that egg to hatch. So by comparison, it took 3.5 days to get a single new fish with the crash fish, whereas the peepers and Reginalds produced a new fish within 1 day. The last test specimen was the Anthill. These are much larger in size than the previous fish, so it gave a way to see if size makes a difference. After placing the first eggs in containment, it took 1.5 days for the eggs to hatch, so it was a little bit longer than the crash fish. It then took another 2.25 days for the starter Anthills to mature and produce the first egg. After that, they produced additional eggs at a steady pace of 0.75 days. It also took 1.5 days for the first egg to even hatch. That means it took a total of 5.25 days to get the first additional fish from the Anthills. So now we can see that the bigger the fish is in size, the longer it takes for them to reproduce. But the real point of the question was, how does this affect fuel production for the bioreactor? So I decided to test and see how quickly and how much bioreactor fodder can be produced with the best results for power. I set up a stack of 6 multi-purpose rooms containing 5 alien containments, allowing me to stand on top and look down inside. I ran 3 different fish tests where I started with just 2 specimens and then let it run for 10 days in-game. I tested with 3 fish that are easy to find early in the game: the peeper, the Reginald, and the stalker. Peepers can be found readily through the safe shallows, Reginalds are abundant through the plateaus, and stalker eggs can be found in the kelp forest. So, this is how things looked after the 10 in-game days had finished. Final counts were 50 peepers and 50 Reginalds. Since each alien containment allows for a population of 10 for these, this means that we hit the population limit of the 5 alien containments. More importantly, we hit the population limit well before the 10-day mark. With the stalkers, however, I received 12 hatched stalkers and 6 stalker eggs after the 10 in-game days. So now, what does this mean in terms of potential power? A single peeper will provide 420 power. That means 50 peepers gives us a total of 21,000 power for a base. A single Reginald will provide 490 power, and so 50 Reginalds will provide 24,500 power total. One stalker provides 560 power, and one stalker egg provides 105 power. So our total power output with 12 stalkers is 6,720, and the 6 eggs is 630, for a combined total of 7,350 power. So not only did the smaller fish reproduce much faster, but there is a massive difference in potential power output. Bottom line, if you need quick power just to get things started, grab fish from right outside your base. If you're interested in farming your fuel and are limited on space, then you can of course use interior grow beds or planters with plants such as the lantern fruit tree. This doesn't give you the best power potential, but will work well. If your bioreactor is going to be your principal power source for your base, or you just want the best bang for your buck, small fish such as the Reginalds and Oculus are your best bioreactor fuels in game. Reginalds can be found abundantly in the plateaus, and Oculus can be found early in the game inside the mushroom cave where one of the old Dagazi bases is located. Well, that is it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button. Also make sure to leave a comment below and hit subscribe if you haven't done so already. I am your host, Mr. Spicy, as always. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to keep it spicy this week, and I will see you in the next video.